Today is May the 17th, 2022. This video is dated 1 month ago, courtesy of CBS News. The purpose of showing this type video is to show the growing trends in crime by state. I'm Alice Thomason with the Swap Meet Journal. Check out this news clip.
This week's shooting on a subway in New York City has amplified concerns about rising crime. Most major crimes in New York City are up this year. While murders have dropped slightly, other violent crimes like rape have increased. Robberies have also increased almost 50%, and felony assaults nearly 20%. Former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio joins us now. Mayor de Blasio, the crime rate in New York City, which started to rise in your final term, continues to rise. It's up over 44% in the last year. And the NYPD's budget, though, has increased this year by several $1 million. The city even has its own counterterrorism department. Do you see, Mayor, a lack of law enforcement resources as a factor in this rising crime?
Well, Robert, I appreciate the question because I think we need to really get to the core of this discussion. I mean, first of all, just humanly, New Yorkers went through a very tough time this week, and it's certainly not the first time. We've been subject to terror attacks. When I was mayor, the pipe bomb in Times Square subway station, the horrible pressure cooker attack at 23rd Street. This is something we've been through, and it always gives New Yorkers pause. But what's amazing is the resiliency. People immediately banded together. And right now, you go around the city, life is really back to normal. I think the larger question here is, look, we have tremendous resources, 35,000 police officers, the finest police force in the country. Yes, strong anti-terror capacity. We built that up over years. But it's going to take more than that to overcome this moment, because this is really about COVID. This is about the horrible dislocation that occurred in COVID. Remember, particularly for young people, there was a period of time no work, no school, no houses of worship, no entertainment, a loss of life in their families. That's going to take some time to overcome, getting people back to normal and getting people into the subways again, full strength, law-abiding people all over the subways the way it used to be. That's the kind of change we really need to finally turn this corner.
But Mayor de Blasio, beyond the effects of COVID, which are real, what about the specifics here? State officials warned in 2018 and 2019 that the MTA's security camera system was at risk of malfunctioning. So why wasn't fixing that surveillance system not prioritized at the time, and where are the gaps now?
Yeah, Robert, this is an issue that really does need to be addressed. I have had plenty of times where I thought the MTA was not on the ball, but until recently, one excuse they had that was valid was they really were starved for resources. Well, that's not true anymore. They've got a huge amount of money from the stimulus. Now there's going to be even more money potentially available when the congestion pricing program comes in. So the MTA of the past was challenged on many, many levels, but today's MTA should get it right when it comes to cameras. And I got to tell you, from a policing point of view, having worked so closely with the NYPD the last 8 years, those video cameras are absolutely crucial. That is how you find criminals quickly and how you deter any other attacks. They have to work. So that's a fixable problem, and the resources are clearly there at the MTA.
Mayor, when you're watching all of this unfold, you have a vantage point unlike almost anyone else in the country as a former mayor of New York. What went wrong here in terms of law enforcement and the ability to quickly find the perpetrator?
Well, Robert, clearly not getting those images as quickly as we would have wanted, not having those video images right away, that hurt. There's no question. That's a fixable problem. What we know about lone wolf attacks, and we don't know really fully what motivated this individual, but from what we've seen so far, this is one person, a very amateurish approach. Thank God there was not a loss of life. But you oftentimes don't have warning signs. Now, in this case, however, the videos he put out provided some powerful indicators that something was wrong. You know, in a lot of cases around the country with the school shootings, for example, we've seen the same things, where videos or other indications, young people crying out for help in one form or another or expressing their anger, their violent tendencies. What we don't have yet and we need is a sensibility in our country that when someone sees that, they need to get it to the police right away. That includes the social media companies, of course, but it also includes colleagues, it includes parents. The police, and as a firm believer in the role of policing and the NYPD, I can tell you the police will tell you honestly they can't do it all alone. They need the people on their side, and we've got to get into the assumption in this country that when you see someone talking about committing violence, take them seriously, take it literally, and alert the police immediately.
Mayor de Blasio, let's turn to the midterms. History and economic indicators, they don't favor the Democrats, at least at this point in the political cycle. And as the midterms approach, as you know, tensions between the moderate and progressive wings of the party persist. You're a progressive in the party. Do you believe the Biden White House should be going left right now or hewing to the center?
Robert, first of all, I truly believe as a progressive, I wasn't originally a Joe Biden supporter, but I've come to be very impressed by his ability as a messenger. He is someone you can relate to. He's someone who can speak to everyday Americans across the spectrum, every region. But what I don't see is a message to go with it. Now, I think what would unite the progressive and moderate wings of the party, a couple of core things. Talk about health care a lot more. It's still the issue where Democrats score very high. People are very concerned about health care prices. Good step in the right direction with the House vote on the insulin bill. But let's get that next piece done on prescription drug prices. Let's get that legislation passed and then talk about health care incessantly. That was a winning strategy in 2018. Another thing, taxes on the wealthy, popular across the political spectrum. Biden's put forward a billionaire's tax. Talk about it. Make it central to the vision of how we bring fairness to taxation, but also get the resources to address some of the issues that people are most concerned about. We need an offense. You know, you're not going to win this election with defense. You need an offense. I think it's there for the taking, but I want to see the Biden White House turn to a clear, crisp message that will lift the boats of Democratic candidates around the country.
Back in your state, there's a midterm issue of sorts that's popping up politically. New York's Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin, he has resigned after being arrested for fraud in bribery charges. What's your reaction to that story, and what does it mean for New York Democrats?
It's painful. This is someone a lot of us knew and thought was, you know, a good and promising person with a bright future. I have to say, when someone does something like this, it hurts everyone. It hurts people's trust and faith. But look, I don't think it has electoral consequences, bluntly. He barely got introduced to the people of New York State. And then now he's gone. I think what is crucial in the election in our state is those kitchen table issues. And that certainly gives a big opening for a Democrat over the next month when we have our gubernatorial primary and we have our candidate to go forward and talk about how we attack those rising prices, how we make sure there's tax fairness, the kinds of things that really there's a lot can be done on the state level. Maybe Washington's stuck, but a lot more can be done on the state level. And people are listening. It's a Democratic state. It's about delivering a clear, sharp message. So I don't think this very sad incident changes the big picture.
Speaking of a clear, sharp message, New York mayors are famous for being blunt and candid. I'd ask you to be blunt and candid when you answer this question, Mayor de Blasio. Former Governor Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, he's been plotting a comeback of sorts. Do you think he should sit on the sidelines, politically speaking, or jump back in to the political scene in New York?
Robert, bluntly, candidly, he should get the hell off the stage. What he did to the women who work for him, what he did to the nursing home residents, there are so many problems. There was so much that resulted from his unchecked power and his arrogance. It's just time for him to leave the stage. And I think if he doesn't, then all of these very painful issues are not only going to be brought back, they're going to be examined anew. And there's a lot more there, bluntly. I'm certain of that. So I hope for the good of the Democratic Party, I hope for the good of the people of New York State, he just realizes his time has come and gone.
Mayor Bill de Blasio, thank you.
Thank you, Robert.